Oh my goodness. This book, I'm just going to gush about it. I'm going to try to give you as spoiler-free a chat about it as I can. I am going to give you a little bit of my thoughts on why I think this book worked so well, and why it's like in my top horror favorites now. The book I'm talking about today is Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees by Patrick Horvath. This is his first published graphic novel, and this was initially kind of planned to be a standalone thing. However, a new sequel has just started. I have not read it yet. I'm gonna try to hold off until the whole volume comes out, but it's gonna be hard. This book throws us into a world with anthropomorphic animals as well as animals. And the anthropomorphic animals are kind of taking the place of humans in this book. And they are super cute, like super duper cute. And the watercolory style, I don't think it's actually watercolor. I think it's like an acrylic gouache that just looks really cute and cozy. But we are following a prolific serial killer named Samantha, and she is from this cozy little town where everyone knows everyone, and there's a little bit of a rhythm, and it's a little bit of a sleepy, boring town, but you know, it's home. It's where she's kind of built her life. And Sam knows that she would be unwise to kill in her own little town. There's too much of everyone knows everything, and it's just not right for her home. You know, you don't bring that stuff home. So she goes out to the city to do all of her killings, where people they just vanish sometimes, you know? Nobody's gonna wonder about that. So she has her own rules, not necessarily ethical rules, not necessarily in terms of who she picks. However, she does have rules in terms of where she picks her victims. And somebody starts killing in her town. And she is like, oh no. Somehow this might lead to me. So I've got to figure out who the new killer is. So we're following her doing that. And it is just a great ride. Like, we are following a main character who is problematic. She is not a good person, but she is also very compelling. You're also like very interested in following her. And we also get to learn a little bit more about some of the people in her town, the way that information is portrayed across the pages for you to really get a vibe of like the different characters is just awesome. I felt like there was a lot of intention behind every panel, that there was so much information to be received behind the choices, and that you could really get a vibe of the different characters just from seeing them for a very short amount of time. I loved the kind of rhythmic aspects to it, where like for the beginning of each like issue kind of chapter, we would see a different newspaper, and it would give us a little headline, and it would change like every time, but it's going to tell us like the date. Most of the things are blurred out, but I love that the ads are never blurred. In the book, there is a fair bit of gore and like graphic stuff, but it's tasteful enough, I think, where like it's not too abundant. It's really, when you see it, it is kind of shocking. And because we don't see a lot of it, I feel like it really has that power. If it were a book that like really stretched out some of that gory stuff, I feel like it would almost lose the impact, if you know what I mean. I think contrast is so important. I guess one thing to kind of bring up is that choice to use cute animals, and would the story be as good with just humans? And like, I don't think it would be, but I don't think that makes the book weak. In some ways, I think it is a stronger book because of the cuteness. Like I said, with like kind of that juxtaposition, there's this beautiful contrast between the really gory stuff and the really cute stuff that just works really well, in my opinion. And there's also that element of like nature versus these anthropomorphic animals, right? Like how far are these animals from real animals, and how much of those instincts, those mannerisms, those things that they would do, how far removed are these anthropomorphic animals from that, really? How far are these animals from the animals that they're eating? And the book doesn't really give you answers for that, but I think it does bring a little bit of an interesting perspective to it. And I don't think those questions would arise in the same way if you had human characters. I do think, yes, it's stronger because of the cute animals, but not just on a, oh, cute animals, everything's better with cute animals. Like, I think it does make specifically this type of story kind of work. And I also think things are allowed to just be fun. Things are allowed to just be a little bit goofy. And I think that freshness is just nice to experience. And that visual coziness, it's like you're getting like a hug, but you're also just like getting stabbed at the same time. I don't know. I like it. I'm a fan of it. So I wasn't really like trying to predict the ending, but I think the ending was quite good for the book, and to really drive home who Samantha is. Basically, things like feel like they are in alignment with her character. It doesn't feel like she's doing things that are ever like outside of the profile of who I kind of picture her to be. I don't have a gripe with it. I'm sure some people who are way more critical could, but I don't really have a single gripe with this book. It is just a blast. I liked it. This would be a really good like intro to horror comics, I feel, too, because it's like so unintimidating. It's not too long. It's showing what the comic medium can do with horror, where we're not just constantly in like shock value only territory. So this is Patrick Horvath's first published graphic novel. And funny enough, this like just the idea for this came from him just doing a morning drawing. He was getting in the practice of drawing every day, in part because he wanted to get better at drawing, and in part just because he was trying to replace his smoking habit with something else in the morning. So he would have his coffee and he would draw, and he just drew a bear, kind of a cute looking bear, walking with a bloody axe. And he was like, where could I go with this? So he like built kind of a story behind it, and that basically birthed this book. And the title, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, is based on a kid's song, Teddy Bear's Picnic. So if you've heard that song, there's a line that's Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, and that is what he based the title off of. I am not surprised that this book is as good as it is, because Patrick Horvath has a history in filmmaking. So he did like do a little bit of drawing and stuff in high school. He did comic strips for his school newspaper, and he would do like a few just like kind of for himself. But he never really went anywhere with it. And then he kind of gave up drawing for a bit while he really went hard into filmmaking. But he did kind of come back to comics later after having experience in filmmaking. And his experience in filmmaking isn't just in any one area. So he's done things like writing, he's done directing, he's done animation stuff, he's done editing, he's done production stuff, he has done stuff on the camera side of things, lighting side of things. So lots of different roles within film. And because of that, I think he has a very well-rounded view of like how to tell a story. Both mediums do require some thinking about like what to include, what to exclude, what to show more subtly, what to show more blatantly, what to have as like a speech thing, and what to have as a nonverbal thing. Like there's a lot of considerations that are important for both. And the cool thing is like, this is just basically like, hey, take that vision that you had with like a movie or a story and like make it the way that you want to make it. So really interesting to me to take that history plus like going back to your art roots in a way, and like getting more into like writing comics kind of into his 40s, which is really cool. Like, I love that. And it's kind of, to me, it's like, you can always spend your time regretting, like, hey, I did this thing when I could have done this, which was more in line with my passions and more in line with like who I am as a person. But there are things that you gain through those like other steps. And I think for Patrick Horvath, like, he gained so much from filmmaking. I don't know if he recognizes it or if that's something that he would say, but when you are doing those things and then you're also like translating into another medium, you have all this life experience, this way of looking at things that like no one else is going to have that exact way, right? Nobody else is going to have that exact experience and those lessons that you've learned maybe from like, oh, this is something that I always want to like show, and this is something that I always try to be tasteful about. Like all those little things that you figure out like bumbling your way through life. That's probably why his first thing that he did, like, it feels like, hey, this guy just barfed out like an amazing book. But I don't think it really is that surprising. And like comics is this guy's freaking medium. I want more comics from this guy. Like he should be making comics. But who knows if he started comics like right out of high school, would it be the same? I don't think so. I think sometimes we need to have those external life experiences. You just don't know how different life experience can shape who you are and shape what you can produce. And it's in ways that like we can't measure. It's in ways that like go beyond how a school is ever going to educate you. And that's just beautiful to me. Let me know if you have read this one or if you haven't. I am so excited to read the new stuff. I like am really highly debating reading the new stuff like online as it comes out, but I also just want to have the physical thing in my hands and just like tear through it because it's so good.